Hey everybody, it's Warren and Julie, and we're back to give you an update on Europe and what to expect as far as if you're planning to visit anytime soon, especially if you're coming into the Schengen EU area. So first off, for those of you that have been following Julie and I for a long time as we travel with our two dogs, you know we do the Schengen Shuffle, which means that we need to be out of the Schengen for at least 90 days before we can arrive back into the Schengen. So if you're new to following us and you don't know what the Schengen is, this map here will show you the Schengen. It's a group of 29 countries that, as an American, we can only be in the entire zone here in yellow for 90 days out of a 180-day period. And then we have to leave the zone for at least the 90 days before we can come back in for another 90 days. And that's part of the reason we have our strategic home base in Montenegro, that we can go down there for 90 days. We can work on resetting our Schengen clock, putting at least 1 day extra in another neighboring country, because the exit day and entry day in and out of the Schengen count as the same day for the same country. You have areas like the United Kingdom where you can stay for 6 months. You have Albania where you can stay for a year. So you have other options as well. But we have our strategic home base in Montenegro.
Yeah.
And the Schengen is something that, as we've traveled with our dogs and we drive around Europe, we've had to contend with and work with. But we've have new things coming up from the EU regarding some Schengen policies and some new ways they're going to do business. So Julie, what's happening in November?
Well, all non-European travelers, all meaning Americans, anyone, all non-European travelers will be required to be fingerprinted and registered before crossing any European border. So this is a big deal. It's actually going to take over the traditional border stamping. So their passport border stamping will not be a thing anymore. You're going to have your biometrics taken, and they're going to use a digital traveler's photograph, personal information, and fingerprints. So again, no more passport stamps. This applies to all non-Europeans. That's Americans, it's everyone, and it's all about Europe.
So let's discuss some of the implications here, okay? So first off, they're going to take your picture when you come into the country, and it's going to be a biometric one that they can track you basically throughout the EU Schengen zone. We've been through areas and borders where they actually take your picture, so this is not something new for us, but the whole fingerprinting part, that's a whole nother thing. So this is a step to crack down on terrorism and illegal immigration
and modernize the system too.
Yeah, so I mean, but the tracking is definitely going to be stronger, and I see a potential problem for people that let's say are doing the bilateral agreement with Poland. And if you are flying in and out of Poland, you could probably do the bilateral agreement. If Ukraine wasn't at war and you wanted to stay in Poland for the year and then leave and then come back and reset your time with the bilateral agreement, you could probably do that with Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think a lot of people are trying to go across the Ukraine border at this time. But if you were to go and try to use the Hungary border or the Croatian border to leave the Schengen zone, with this biometric system, they're going to say you've been in the zone, and potentially it's going to crack down that you are now going to be violating the Schengen zone. And if you are in violation of the Schengen, you're not going to be allowed to come back in without some repercussions.
And
so
it's a 5-year ban and more, from my understanding. This system is going to be the EES. This is not the ETIAS. This is totally different. This is entry-exit system, and it starts November 10th, 2024. So we're just right on the cusp of this beginning.
And so this is going to be all ports of entry, whether sea, land, or air. You're going to be getting a picture and apparently fingerprints when you're coming in and out of the...
It's going to be different.
Does anybody need to register on anything first before they come, or they just show up and this is going to be a process?
Not to my understanding at this point. I do know that the ETIAS, on the other hand, that will be launched in 2025, if it goes as planned, is going to actually require registration online. You're going to pay your €7. You're going to fill out all this information, and it's good for 3 years. So that one is going to also crack down on things, and it'll, again, you're going to apply, and this is going to happen soon.
So for those of you that are Americans thinking the ETIAS, where you have to go in there and you have to apply, and you basically get like this visa that allows you to run around the Schengen, and it's good for several years, so you don't have to do this every time you're coming and going. But this is something that Americans do towards other countries and Europeans, so it's not kind of an unfair thing. This is just something that it's almost reciprocation. We as Americans do this to visitors from Europe, so we're on the list that has to apply for this thing. But it's not going to be a hard process. It's like a few minutes online to apply for the ETIAS.
Yeah, and it's not very expensive. It's €7. It's just something that we all have to get used to, doing the Schengen shuffle if we're going to be in Europe. As non-Europeans, we have to obey.
and I'm not going to harp too much on the ETIAS right now, because I'm going to tell you what, they've kicked the can down the road several times, several years, because we were expecting this to go into effect in 2021.
Well, just
and
the same
so
as the
now we're
EES.
2024. But the EES is due to go in place in a couple months.
November 10th, 2024. So be prepared for it, and we're privileged to be able to enter Europe, and so we will obey and do what we need to do.
So for those of you not familiar with how Europe is set up, and I touched base a little bit on Schengen earlier, how we talked about we have to look at all 29 countries as one country as Americans, or if you're coming from Australia or Canada, and that you have that shared grouping of days that are spread amongst all of those countries. The bonus to being part of Schengen for these countries is borderless travel. So that if you were in France, you can drive to Poland without really a real border stop, or you can go from Norway down to almost go to Greece, because right now you have issues with Bulgaria and Romania still have land borders but not air borders, but they still count as Schengen time. So eventually Bulgaria and Romania, probably within the next 12 months, will have those borders hopefully open, so you can have the full use of the Schengen and travel all the way from Greece to Norway if you wanted, but right now that's not a thing. And the group of countries that are not Schengen has gotten a lot smaller, so when you want to go reset your clock areas that you can go to in Europe, UK, Ireland, you can go to Montenegro, you can go to Macedonia, Kosovo, for those of you that think it's a country or don't think it's a country, I'm not going into that. Albania, where you can stay for 12 months as an American, 90 days if you're British or Canadian or Australian. And then Turkey is an option that we've used in the past. However, understand that the exit and entry day is the same day for both countries, so you need a third country. So that can be a little bit more difficult from Turkey because Bulgaria came off the map, but you can do the long trip over to Georgia, or you can go over to Cyprus or northern Cyprus and get some extension time there before you come back to Schengen.
And I think we missed Serbia. So.
Well, yes, well, Serbia, and which is a country we like a lot. And then you also have Moldova, and which borders Romania.
Armenia gives you 6 months as an American citizen with an American passport. You can get 6 months in Armenia.
Yeah, over there by Georgia and Turkey.
Turkey gives you the 3 months in and out.
Yeah. But Moldova is there next to Romania. So if you were looking at trying to do the Schengen shuffle with Romania and Moldova, that's potentially possible, but understand you need that third country in the mix still. So again, with Ukraine's situation, do you want to jump over to Ukraine? You can potentially, but it makes it a little bit more difficult. So in some of these cases, you might need to air travel. We really like Ukraine when we were there before the war. Yes. Can't wait for that to open up again. And of course, then you have other countries that do have restrictions if you're going there, such as Belarus or Russia, which as Americans, I don't think that's a place where a lot of us are flocking at the moment. So anyhow, we hope that this has been a enlightening,
informative
podcast for you today. If you're not already, please make sure you're subscribing and giving this video a like. We want you to be able to join us as we share new things that happen, share our experiences and expenses as we travel. Please join our Facebook group. We've got a couple of them, one for house swapping, and join our Facebook group so that you can follow along on our regular journey and also get new breaking news and share your stories. If you're an expat, nomad, traveler, if you've got questions, this is the place to go, a forum for your information. So look for Warren Julie Travel in Facebook. So again, we hope you subscribe, give this video a like, and until next time, have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.
Ciao.